Hey guys, hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So from today onwards, from this video onwards, I'm going to start a new series for the upcoming GATE exam. The series name will be 10 practice MSQs. Now as you know that GATE has included a new types of question that is going to be multiple selective questions, MSQs. So this series is going to take care of that. I'm going to add questions from different topics in this series and like the questions which are going to be multiple selective questions. This series will help you to understand that how you can approach a question based upon MSQ type. And in this series I'll be taking, because the only exam which we have as a reference over here for MSQ type of question is IIT JAM exam, and that's why I'll be taking some of the questions from IIT JAM and some of the questions I'll try to create and I'll try to provide to you guys in the video. Okay, so we'll be having 10 questions because 10 questions is quite enough for practicing and for understanding. So do let me know in the comments that if you want this series to be continued or if you want me to like do some changes in it. So do let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, before starting the video, before telling you anything about it, let me tell you about my classes which are running right now on Unacademy Plus. Unacademy Plus is a platform where I teach live for CSIR Net and GATE exam. There are two new batches which I have started. One is for the GATE preparation and the other one is for CSIR Net upcoming batch. So if you are interested to join those batches, if you are interested to join those classes, you can mail me in the email ID provided in the description of this video. So we'll interact over there. You can ask the queries regarding how to join and all. I'll explain you everything over there. And yeah, so do mail me in the email ID provided in the description of this video to join the classes for the upcoming batch. All right. Now having said that, let's continue with our video. Alright, so we'll start from this particular question which was asked in IIT JAM 2016 exam. This was a MSQ type of question. The question says that the ion that exhibit only charge transfer band in the absorption spectra, that means in the UV visible region, that's what they have given. Now they have tried to confuse you with the UV visible region. You don't have to worry about the visible or UV region. You just have to look for the charge transfer spectra, that means ligand to metal charge transfer or metal to ligand charge transfer, right? So now just quickly look upon the complexes. The first complex which you see here, since this is oxalate as the ligand over here, that's a bidentate ligand having charge -2. So if you calculate that the oxidation state of chromium in the first option, it will come out to be +3. So chromium is in +3 oxidation state. Now chromium in +3 oxidation state is a D3 species. That means you have 3 electrons in the d orbital. Fine. Let's go for this complex, the other one where you have chromium and O4 2 minus. Now in this case, your chromium is in +6 oxidation state. In the +6 oxidation state, this is in D0. That means its d orbital are totally empty. Talking about your option number C, so here rhenium is in +7 oxidation state. This again is a D0 complex. Okay, so there is no electron in the d orbital here. Now nickel over here, if you calculate it, so nickel over here is going to be like 4 minus and it is going to be +2. So this is going to be D8. Now the species or the options in which the d orbital is totally empty and where you have a pi donor ligand which can cause ligand to metal charge transfer. Now remember, the condition for ligand to metal charge transfer is that your metal should be in high oxidation state, or there should be the d orbital should be empty totally. So that is only there in your option number B and in option number C. Both these options are there which can give you ligand to metal charge transfer. What about option number A? So option number A has like it also has 3d orbit like 3d electrons. So in that case, ligand to metal charge transfer is less favorable over there because you have electrons in this. So the only one which is going to give you intense ligand to metal charge transfer are your option number B and option number C. That is going to be the correct answer for that. What about D? So obviously d orbital have a lot of electrons, so there is no ligand to metal charge transfer which is possible in that particular case. So yeah, and also in the option number A, there is not a very good pi donor ligand. Okay, so the ligand has to be a very good pi donor ligand, so that's not there in option number A. So that's why option number A is not going to give you absorption band or the charge transfer band. Charge transfer band you are going to get in option number B and C. Now it does not matter that the charge transfer only talks about ligand to metal charge transfer. There can be metal to ligand charge transfer also, but there is no possibility of that. For metal to ligand charge transfer, metal should be in very low oxidation state and the ligand should be a good pi acceptor ligand, Now that is also not there in any option, so that's why we are just okay with ligand to metal charge transfer. Now once again, these questions are from IIT JAM. The level of questions are not that high, they are quite at the, like, the level of question is quite fine. So yeah, that's how the question has to be done. If this question would be asked in GATE, they will obviously combine metal to ligand charge transfer and ligand to metal charge transfer both in the given options. Okay, so you have to be very careful over there. All right, let's go for the next one then. It says it was in IIT JAM 2017. The question says that the Jahn-Teller distortion is observed in the octahedral complex with a d electron configuration of. Now it's pretty simple to see, right? You know that Jahn-Teller distortion is not seen in those orbitals where the electrons are symmetrically filled, right? So if I draw d5 high spin, now all of these is for the octahedral complex. So d5 high spin is going to be filled like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how d5 is going to be filled, symmetrical filling, so no Jahn-Teller in this case. Here if you draw this d5 low spin, obviously this is how you are going to fill it. So yes, Jahn-Teller it is there, although it's a weak Jahn-Teller, but yet it will be there. D6 high spin, let's draw this d6 high spin. So in that case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Again T2J is symmetrically filled, weak Jahn-Teller, but yes, it is there. What about option number D? So d6 low spin, so just draw this. So you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So symmetrical electron filling, no Jahn-Teller. So correct answer is B and C for this particular question. Simple question asked in IIT JAM exam. Alright. So this is how you have to do. These are MSQ type of questions and multiple selective answers. So that's how you have more than one answer for the given question. Now one thing which I want to make very clear, that if let's say in this question somebody just answered option number B, he didn't answer option C, he is not going to get any marks for this question. Okay, or somebody answered only option C, he didn't he didn't mark option B, again he is not going to get any answer for that or any marks for that question. And let's say a person marked A, B and C all three, then also he is not going to get any marks for that. Now in MSQ type of question there is no negative marking, so that's quite fine, but you will not get any positive marks. You will only get marks if you have marked B and C both as your correct answer. All right. Okay, let's take the next question then. Okay, talking about this particular question, it says that the transition metal complex with zero magnetic moment, zero dipole moment and CFSE is equals to minus 2.4 delta O. It's pretty simple to do it. I'll quickly go into it to explain you. You just have to look for the complex that is going to have a strong field ligand. Then only you will be having a zero magnetic moment. That means all the electrons will be paired up. So zero magnetic moment means you should have zero unpaired electrons, right? Zero unpaired electron, because they're just talking about spin only, magnetic moment, although they have not mentioned it, but yeah, they are just talking about that. Zero dipole moment means also the same thing. That means the unpaired electrons are not there and the orbitals are symmetrically filled. So basically this is one of the configuration which is going to give you zero dipole moment and it's going to give you zero magnetic moment. Okay, so if you are quite comfortable with coordination chemistry and if you have done a lot of questions, you might simply jump to this particular conclusion, but yet you have to check the options. So if you look upon option number B, it has trans Ni-ethylene diamine whole twice Cl2. So here nickel is in +2 oxidation state. If you just fill the electrons, it's a D8 configuration. It's a D8 configuration, and D8 can be high spin or low spin, it doesn't matter. If you fill it, obviously you are going to get something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So it's not going to have zero unpaired electrons, right? That means it does not have zero magnetic moment. So you can just cancel out option number B. You can simply cancel out option number A because it's a D5 species. In the D5 species, you are not going to have you are obviously going to have unpaired electron in that case as well. Looking upon option number C, over here it's trans COCN4 H2O whole twice minus. So in that case you have cobalt over here in +3 oxidation state with a strong field ligand. So that is going to cause a splitting. It's a D6, it has made it a D6 species, right? So D6, when you fill it, it's going to get filled like this. So yes, this is one of your option which is going to be correct. Talking about option number D again, so here again trans FeCN4 Cl2 minus. So here again iron is in +2 oxidation state, and if it is in +2 oxidation state, so that means it's a D6, and this is going to be low spin complex. Why? Because we have strong field ligand over here. So you are just going to fill it as such. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, C and D are your correct option for this particular question. All right, let's go for the next question then. Right, this particular question where it says that the complex with a normal spinal structure is R. It was not asked from any of the exam, I have just given it from my side. So to solve this type of question, if you don't know how to solve spinal and the questions related to that, I'll link a video over here. You can just watch that video by clicking in the I button. I've explained how you can easily jump and you can easily understand or easily do questions based upon your spinals and all. Okay, you don't have to solve everything. So based upon that video, I'm going to solve this particular question. Okay, so the first thing which you have to look for is wherever you have a non-transition metal, that means main group element, if you get in the complex, that becomes a normal spinal, which makes this particular option C a normal spinal. Okay, so this is going to be a normal spinal molecule. So yeah, that's correct. Now you have to choose for the other options as well. For the first one, if you see cobalt is in +2 state, so that you can write down like this, like CO and CO2O4. So one of the cobalt is in +2 state, the other cobalt is in +3 state. If you find out the CFSC of them in the octahedral and tetrahedral field, you will yourself see that it's a normal spinal. So option number A is also going to be normal spinal. Okay, I'm not going to solve. I'm just going to leave you with the link of that video because I just want you to watch that video and to solve this particular question of your own. Okay, so I just want you to do that part and solve this question, try to solve this. Now if you go for this particular option Fe3O4, so iron is in +2 state and +3 state both. If you try it and if you see, you will find out that Fe in +2 state and Fe in +3 state, this is D6 and this is D5. So a D6 is going to have higher CFSC value. Having higher CFSC value, this will try to stay in the octahedral field. Okay, so if +2 goes in the octahedral field, obviously it's an inverse spinal, right? The condition for the normal spinal is that your +2, okay, that means your anion with positive anion, positive cation, sorry, should go in the tetrahedral void, and your tripositive cation should go in the octahedral void. Now this is the condition for your normal spinal. All right, and for the inverse spinal, what happens that if this A+2 goes to the octahedral void, or if it has higher CFSC in the octahedral field, then obviously this becomes inverse. Okay, you don't have to do rest of the part. So here because D5 is going to have 0 CFSC, D6 is obviously going to be having higher value than that, so it is going to be inverse. So directly you can say that this is going to be inverse. That's not your answer, so you can just neglect option B. So till now you have got option A and option C. Let's go for the option number D here. In option number D here, again you will see that manganese is in 2 oxidation state, +2, and manganese is in +3 state. Now here again in the manganese in +2 state will be your D5, and manganese in +3 will be your D6. Sorry, this is going to be D4 species. So D5 will have CFSC 0, right? It will have 0 CFSC, whereas it will have certain value of CFSC. I'm not going to calculate, I'm just telling you. So if it has lowest CFSC, so that means and in the octahedral field, I'm just calculating all this CFSC in the octahedral field. So obviously +3 will have higher CFSC, so that particular thing which has highest CFSC in a particular field, it goes in that particular field only. Okay, so CFSC of Mn +3 is higher, so that's why it will try to stay in the octahedral field, and since +3 goes in the octahedral field, so that's why it's a normal spinal. So option number D is also a normal spinal. So the correct answer for this question become A, C and D. All three are the correct answer for the given question. Alright, now let's go for the next one then. Okay, the next question says which among the following complex ion that would show weak joint tailor distortion. So you have to see that which of the complexes is going to show you weak joint tailor distortion. The first one, if you see chromium is in +2 state, that means it's a D4 species. D4 species, if you just draw it, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. So in that particular case, this is going to show you strong joint tailor distortion. Okay, strong joint tailor distortion. So that's not our answer. The other one is your titanium in +3 state. Okay, titanium +3, that means it's a D1 species. D1 means this is what it is. Now weak joint tailor means your T2G orbital should be asymmetrically filled. So yes, this is one of our correct option. Okay, it's going to show you weak joint tailor distortion. The other one here you have cobalt. Cobalt is in +2 state. Now that means it's a D7 species. D7 species is going to get filled like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. T2G asymmetrically filled. Yes, weak joint tailor distortion. Next one, you have iron in +2 state. So this is a D6 high spin complex, and if you fill this, So you are going to have something like this 1 2 3, then in that you are going to have 4 5 and 6, again weak John-Taylor distortion. Okay, so the correct answer is going to be option B, C and D. All three are going to be the correct answer for this particular question. All right, let's go for the next one. The next question says that the given complexes, the ideal octahedral geometry will not be observed. Okay, so since it is given ki ideal octahedral geometry will not be observed, so that means they are asking that which of the following complexes are not going to show you John-Taylor distortion. All right, so for this, nickel is in +2 state, so that means it's a D8 species. D8 species means if you just fill these electrons, high spin complex, so fine, this is what it is. So here there is no John-Taylor, right, because the orbitals are filled symmetrically. So yeah, this is going to have a ideal ideal octahedral geometry. If you go for the other one, here again if you see the option number B, here you will be having D5 species, right, because manganese is going to have a D5 species. So 1 2 3 4 and 5. So again there is no John-Taylor distortion. So no John-Taylor distortion means, so manganese is in +2 state, so D5. So no John-Taylor distortion means the geometry is going to be ideal. Okay, I'm just writing here. So it is going to be ideal octahedral. It is again going to have ideal octahedral. The next one, if you go, this is chromium. Okay, chromium in +3 state. And remember, whenever you get chromium in +3 state, that means this is a D3 species. So D3, that's how you are going to fill it. 1 2 3. Okay, so this particular one is again going to have no John-Taylor distortion, so it is again going to have ideal octahedral geometry. Okay, the next one, this is going to be answer, because all of these are not having a ideal, like all of them are going to have ideal octahedral geometry. It was asked which is not going to have ideal octahedral geometry. So here just see, this is titanium +3, so it's a D1 species. D1 species means this is how it will be filled. So there is John-Taylor distortion, and that's why it is not going to have, it's not going to have ideal octahedral geometry. So ideal octahedral geometry is observed in option A, B and C. They were asking where it is not going to be observed. So option number D is the one where it is not going to observe. Just one answer is correct for this question. So it might happen that in MSQ also you will have just one answer as the correct one. It's not always necessary that MSQs are going to have more than one correct answers. Okay, so that thing you should keep in mind. Option D is correct for this. All right, let's talk about this one. It says that the complex that would show diamagnetic behavior is R. Okay, so talking about the first one, here we have manganese O4 minus, so that means manganese is in +7 oxidation state. +7 manganese, that means it's a D0 species. Obviously D0 is going to be diamagnetic because it does not have any electron in the outermost shell. All the inner orbitals or all the inner shells are going to be like having the even number of electrons, they are going to be paired up, so that's why diamagnetic. So option A is diamagnetic species. Talking about option number B here, so in option number B, iron is going to be in +3 state, and this is going to be in the tetrahedral arrangement. So iron in +3, that means D5. If you fill D5 over here in the tetrahedral arrangement, so that will be filled like this, 5 unpaired electrons. Obviously this is going to be paramagnetic. Okay, so this is paramagnetic, so that's not our answer. Looking upon option number C now, so option number C has copper 110 phenanthroline whole twice plus. So here in option number C you have copper in +1 oxidation state, that means this is D10 in the configuration, and if it is D10 in the configuration, obviously this is going to be diamagnetic, right? You don't have to fill also, you just got to know. So yes, option C is also correct option. Talking about option number D, so here iron FeCN6 4 minus, so iron is in +2 state, but it is a low spin complex due to presence of a strong field ligand. So if you fill it in the octahedral field, you are going to fill the electron something like that, and once you have filled it, you can see there is no unpaired electron. So yeah, obviously this is also diamagnetic. So yeah, this is how this question has to be done. The correct answer is going to be option A, C and D. All three are the correct option for this. All right, let's go for the next one then. Okay, the next question is pretty simple. It says the following species molecule that does not have a planar geometry. Okay, the one which does not have a planar geometry. So here the question is little tricky. If it is given that NiCO4, now this particular structure you should know it's a tetrahedral arrangement. It has a tetrahedral arrangement of nickel carbonyl. Okay, nickel tetracarbonyl. It has a tetrahedral arrangement. SF4, you know, it has a seesaw kind of shape. COCl4 is going to again have tetrahedral arrangement, and if you look upon option number D, so this is going to have a square planar geometry. Basically the structure is going to be, the shape is going to be square planar, and that's how it should be. Okay, XC and F4. Okay, these are going to be your F4, and the two lone pair are going to be above and below the plane. So this is not the answer. Apart from that, all others are your correct option. Okay, so that's how it will be done. Let's go for the next one. The next question says that the inert complex slash complexes is, so you are given with certain complex, you have to tell that which of them are inert. So basically when you talk about a complex formed from your non-transition metal, in that particular case that complex becomes like, because there is no d orbital electron involved in that, but they all are labile. Okay, so this is labile complex, the first one. Okay, so all main group elements, the complexes of the main group element are going to be labile. Talking about the second one, the second option, here you have vanadium in +2 state. So vanadium in +2 state is going to have D3 configuration, and D3 is going to be filled like this, 1 2 and 3. So that's why this is inert. Okay, option number B is inert. Next is your chromium C2O4 whole thrice 3 minus. If you calculate the oxidation state of chromium comes out to +3, that makes it a D3 species, and a D3 species is going to have filled like it's going to have electrons filled like that. So again it becomes inert complex. Okay, talking about option number 4th, where the cobalt complex is given to you, and here if you see, so cobalt is in +3 oxidation state, it's a D6 species. Now remember one thing, that whenever you have cobalt in +3 oxidation state with oxygen and nitrogen donor ligands, in that case those ligands behave as a strong donor ligands or strong field ligands, and the complex becomes low spin. Okay, so this complex is going to be low spin, and when you fill these 6 electrons, they will be filled like this. So again it became inert. So the option which are inert is option B, C and D. Option A is the labile complex. So that's how it will be done. Alright. Now let's take the next question then. Alright, so the last question on this particular video is from your kinetic and thermal stability. It says that the incorrect statement regarding the thermodynamic stability and kinetic reactivity of the metal ion complexes is /R. So you have 4 options. The first one says more stable complex are less reactive. Second says there exists a dependence of bulkiness of the ligand. Third says there exists no direct relationship between these two phenomena. The fourth says that there exists a dependence of size on the metal ion. So basically thermal stability and kinetic reactivity, these are two different phenomena. Thermal stability is a totally different thing, and kinetic stability is a different thing. So it is possible that a certain element or a certain complex which is thermodynamically stable is kinetically reactive. Okay, in the kinetic reactivity we look upon the inertness and lability of the complex. Okay, that how inert or how labile it is for a particular reaction. Thermodynamic stability tells you about how stable the complex is, that it is not going to dissociate or associate, or it is not going to do water exchange and all. So those are the different phenomena from the thermodynamic stability factor, right? So thermodynamic stability and kinetic reactivity, these are two different phenomena. So the correct statement is option number C, which says that there exists no direct relationship between the two phenomena. Rest all the others are incorrect, and those are going to be your answer. Okay, A, B and D. So you should know this thing, that it is possible that a more stable complex becomes it becomes less reactive. It is possible that more stable complex can be more reactive as well. Second, that there exists a dependence of bulkiness of the ligand. It is not necessary that the bulky ligand is going to cause stability or less stability. That is not the factor, okay, which is going to decide. And the last one, which says that there exists a dependence of the size of the metal ion, that is also not exactly true. Okay, So all the other points are not correct regarding the thermodynamic and kinetic stability or reactivity of a particular complex. So these were certain questions from your inorganic coordination complexes. Well, that's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that whatever we have studied in this video, whatever I have taught you in this video was helpful to you. You guys understood it well and you guys liked this video, and I'm sure that this particular series is going to help you in the upcoming exam. So do let me know whatever your feedback is in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed it yet. Like the video if you like it, and share it with your friends. And if you want to join us on the different social media platform, you can find us on Facebook as well as on Instagram. The Instagram and Facebook handle names are @Chemoholic. So you can find us over there. You can follow our pages on Instagram and Facebook as well. All right. So that's all from my side, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, have a great day. Bye bye.